You've been patient. You've been waiting. You subscribed. You unsubscribed. Here it is. It's time. What's up? What's going on? Hide and read. What is it time for? It's time to start getting into this contemporary romance genre. It's time for my camera to focus. There we go. Yeah, and like I threatened, I have read some contemporary romance. I'm going to read more of it, and here's a review of three novellas. So I picked this up at Ollie's. Cost me maybe $2 or $3. The story seemed like a good place to start, and it was. I'll go over real quick all three of these novellas, the authors, and what they had in common, and then we'll jump right into maybe, a brief synopsis. So for each of them, all three of these were quite tame. Anybody could read them without being too offended. That being said, at the end of the video, I will be showing the opposite end of the spectrum. So the reason why I'm reading contemporary romance is because it's probably the only genre left that I've been avoiding, basically. Some other genres I don't really read because I'm not that interested in them at the at this time. But I feel like this genre, I wouldn't say I was interested in it, but there's clearly some sort of resistance to it. So I decided to jump right in. And yeah, here we go. This was a good one to get started. Lone Wolf, which is these three novellas. The first one being Colorado Cowboy by Diana Palmer. The Wolf on Her Doorstep, Kate Pearce, and Rescue Cowboy Style, Rebecca Zanetti. All three of them were pretty good stories. One of them I liked a lot more than the other two. And yeah, we'll unveil that as the video carries on. I'm running out of words here, but yeah, overall, like I said, I enjoyed it. The first one was Colorado Cowboy by Diana Palmer. I'm just looking down at my notes. I'll put them up here. So it looks like I'm talking to you. Main character Esther Marist. She escapes from her mother's murderer, which was her most recent boyfriend, and he was a gigolo, and he was really just trying to steal her money, and eventually he gets frustrated of like whining and dining this old lady, and he plans to kill her and take this massive inheritance. He has his eyes immediately set on a very large ring that her mother wears. Her mother knew that something was going on, not quite right, and felt in danger, and left the ring with her daughter and told her, hold on to this, something's going on. So yeah, we're not spoiling anything here, really. Her daughter finds her mom dead at the bottom of the stairs. The gigolo murderer, her boyfriend, who was in a long line of very scandalous boyfriends for this older woman. She ends up, that gigolo ends up trying to frame her for the murder of her mother. We find that out a little bit later, but she's in shock and she runs off without a cell phone, just the ring on her hand, and out into the snow in, I believe, Colorado. Aspen, I believe. She hitchhikes onto a semi truck with a operating team that is an older man and his wife. She lies and says she's going to go visit a relative, and this relative lives just by happen chance where this couple is going. So she's along for the ride. She sees a cabin off in the distance and tells them, oh, there it is, you could just drop me off here. She walks off to the cabin, and wouldn't you know it, she just faints right in front of the cabin. Inside the cabin is the male protagonist, the love interest. He is a one-armed military veteran. Oh, I was supposed to tell you how these are all connected. We'll do that after this one. one-armed military veteran, and he's a wildlife rehabilitator. And basically, he takes her in. They become kind of they're kind of like an unlikely couple, but he has to more or less cover for her and say that, oh, this is my fiance and we're getting married, because they're in a very conservative area and she just needs somewhere to be for the time being. Um, yeah, so that's more or less of it. Um, she gets a job in town and whatever. You could read the story, but all three stories have um, a woman in trouble that's from the city, kind of out of her element. She, well, maybe not the second one, but the first and the third, and all the male protagonists have some sort of military background. They're all kind of rough men in their mid 30s, and they're pretty conservative, and they aren't the best at expressing their emotions. So I guess that's what the ladies are into. At least if you're reading Lone Wolf by this collection by Diana Palmer. Um, yeah, and let's move on to book number two. Book number two, which is Wolf on Her Doorstep, Kate Pearce. This one was a little bit bland for my taste, only because the driving narrative of the story is that these two characters are falling in love with each other. I prefer a little bit more of a story, but um, yeah, a single mother, Beth Baker, she is in charge of taking care of multiple little cabins on this large property, and um, people are concerned that this man hasn't been heard from in a while, so she goes out to check on him and finds out that he hurt himself basically, and he needs to be nursed back to health. In doing this, the two of them fall in love. He's a former Navy SEAL. He wants to be left alone, and she doesn't want anyone in her life because she has her two sons that she's taking care of, and her ex-husband was very abusive, so she's like kind of like broken in that sense. Yeah, and they figure it out and live happily ever after. Surprise. Okay, number three, which was let me flip this over. Rescue, Cowboy Style by Rebecca Zanetti. I was actually very impressed with this story. The writing was awesome, and it's going to be a little bit unbelievable because I'm just the genre. I'm assuming contemporary romance has, it's a little bit, some of it's far fetched, but it's fine. The main male character is Trent Logan. He owns a ranch with his friends. It's kind of like a co-op kind of deal, and they're all like tough dudes. They're all single, and they throw like these parties every now and then. And this city girl, Haley, she is driving through town, and she wrecks her car and kind of stumbles into this like clubhouse that they have, and he sees her and takes a liking to her right away. She's very rebellious. She doesn't take direction. She fights him basically the entire time. But you find out that she's on the run because her ex-boyfriend was involved in a murder plot involving the company that his father owns. And she is like the secretary, I believe, for this company, and she finds out too much, and then they put a hit out on her and try to kill her. So she runs off, and she's on the run basically, and doesn't want anyone to know what she's doing. So she's like very deceptive the entire time. And same thing with the main character too. He's not like, he doesn't need help or anything, so he doesn't have to really hide his intentions or anything. He's very straightforward, but he has a past that I won't ruin, and kind of caught me by surprise. Like, I thought I knew exactly what was going on, and then it kind of had like a cool twist at the end. This one had a lot of action in it. It was very action driven, and the end has like a cool payoff. Yeah, and they live happily ever after. All three stories, I forgot maybe to mention, that involve a wolf or like a very large dog. So, yeah, I guess ladies like that too, and I can't blame them. So that was Lone Wolf, three novellas. Picked this up at Ollie's. They had a whole stack of these even the last time I went a month later, so maybe you could find it. It was so cheap, and yeah, like I said, the stories were pretty pretty tame for the most part. I'd be hard pressed to think that any of you following the channel would be offended by any of it. And I think for the price of admission, the last story was definitely worth it. Even outside of reading contemporary romance, I would have enjoyed that story. It was pretty cool. And like I said, it has a cool bit of a twist at the end. So yeah, check that out. I'll be reading, definitely going to read something else by Rebecca Zanetti. I did not really enjoy the Kate Pearce story as much. But if maybe you're a fan of this author and you could suggest a different one that you enjoyed, otherwise I'll probably be avoiding that author. Just not my kind of thing. But and then Diana Palmer has so many that I feel compelled to read at least two more by her. I have one laying around here somewhere, coming up in the TV. Oh, here it is. Lord of the Desert. I'm gonna check this one out. It's like a kind of like Arabian kind of deal, so that should be fun. Okay, and I promised, because these were so tame, and the reason for me reading romance is to push my boundaries a little bit, and yeah, give you guys something to have fun. You can poke fun at me a little bit for reading this stuff. So people were very shy about suggesting romance. I couldn't really realize why nobody's suggesting it. It's because people are reading, I guess, what they're calling dark romance. I don't know if romance is really the appropriate title for this kind of stuff. I'm going to do my best to read this from beginning to end, and there's a second book in the series, so I'm going to try to read the second one. I don't know. I'll be completely honest with you. I don't know if after completing this I'll be able to read a second one, but I'll definitely read this and review it, even if I kind of have a rule on the channel that I don't review books that I don't like. But even if I don't like this, I will be reviewing it. And that is Haunting Adeline, H.D. Carlton. I very briefly opened up just one page, and it was very shocking, to be honest. There's a trigger warning, like in maybe the first two pages, and the things that they warned the reader about are not even nearly as offensive as what I read inside there. The trigger warning is talking about all the wrong stuff, in my opinion, but I'm actually excited to read this. I'm going to get to it as quickly as possible and give you guys the review. Yeah, don't be shy. If there's other books like that you think I should read, tell me all about them. This one was actually suggested by a reader, or excuse me, by a subscriber. So, and this is one of her all-time favorites. So, no judgments here. I'm excited to read it. I'm excited to read more contemporary romance. I guess this would be dark romance. I don't know. Educate me a little bit here. And until next time, find somewhere to hide, find something to read. Peace.